Globally, 32.4% of exporting companies feared a decline in sales compared to the previous year. The Busan Film Commission announced today that it supported the filming of 30 movies and videos in the first half of 2024. This represents a 41% decrease from the same period last year, which saw support for 51 projects. The total number of filming days also fell by 52%, from 259 days last year to 124 days this year. In international news, Japan's Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike has won a third consecutive term in Sunday's gubernatorial election with over 2.9 million votes, accounting for 42.8% of the total. Her victory is seen as a relief for Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, which supported her as an independent candidate. Koike, Tokyo's first female governor, first elected in 2016 and re-elected in 2020, successfully managed the city through the COVID-19 pandemic and the delayed 2021 Olympics despite facing controversies. And now taking a quick look at the weather here. It's currently 27 degrees Celsius under cloudy skies. No rain is forecast today and tomorrow in Busan City with chance of precipitation at 30%. And that'll have to do it for this hour's news. Thank you for joining us. You're listening to BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Your best choice. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Coming up next is 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. BEFM Busan 영어방송.
Have you found yourself fiddling with that air conditioning or the fans a lot lately? Does it just seem impossible to find the exact right temperature for you? Whether you're at home or in your car or even at work, is it a constant battle to stay comfortable? Well, today we're going to talk about why it's so hard to find that perfect temperature. It's Monday, July 8th. This is the 2 p.m. Reboot. Let's get it started. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. That was Animal by Neon Trees. And Neon Trees are from Utah. They're a foursome group, a group of 4 people made up of a lead vocalist, a guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer. That's kind of typical, right? But they got their first nationwide exposure in late 2008 because they were given the opening spot for The Killers' first North American tour dates. And that's kind of a good match. I don't know if you're familiar with both of those bands, but the Neon Trees and the Killers sounded like a good match. And not long after they became the opening spot, the band was actually signed by major record label Mercury Records, and this song reached #1 on the Billboard Alternative Songs chart in its 32nd chart week. So that took quite a while to get there. That was the lengthiest journey to the peak position since that chart started in 1988. And that song's lengthy climb overtook the 31-week ascension to the top by Phoenix's 1901. So you're listening to us live here in Busan on this Monday afternoon. It's a little bit foggy, a little bit humid out there. I'm guessing it's freezing in here in the studio today. We're coming to you live from BEFM 90.5 in Busan. We're at 103.3 FM in Gijang, Jeongwon, and Noksan areas. And also we're broadcasting in Seoul on TBS EFM 101.3 FM, and in Gwangju at GFN 98.7 FM. Thanks for joining us wherever you might be today. I hope you're comfortable. I'm freezing in here. You might see me occasionally trembling a little bit. I was kind of getting used to the warm, kind of humid weather, and then I came inside and I was like, oh, yes, wake me up. This, I guess it's, there's a lot of equipment in here, so it needs to be kept at a cooler temperature. But, we're thinking maybe it's like 20 degrees in here or so. Yeah, it's a little chilly in here, so you might see me kind of moving around a little bit. If you want to join, if you want to see me too, actually. If you want to join us, you can go to youtube.com and search BEFM or Busan영어방송. We're streaming right there right now. I should let you know there is a music copyright issue, so we won't be able to play the music while we're streaming on YouTube. The songs will be muted. However, of course, you can listen to our show in its entirety on FM radio, of course. And if you go to your app store on your phone, we have our very own smartphone app. You can just search BEFM or 부산영어방송. Download that, and you can log in and leave us some comments, and also listen to us wherever you go. So we do apologize about the music copyright issue on YouTube, and we hope to get that resolved as soon as possible. We do have a lot going on for the show today on this Monday. We've got an hour #1, hot off the press. We do this every day. We bring you 2 of the newest, hottest tracks from the world of music and give you some background information about the songs and the artist. And then because today is Monday, Andrew will be coming in for Need to Know. He comes in and talks about some stories that are perhaps not in the headlines, but things that we still need to know, some interesting stuff. And hour #2, we've got our daily list, and it's all about the temperature. It's all about trying to stay cool during the summer, right? So our daily list today are some DIY alternatives to air conditioning to try this summer. I'm willing to try it right now. The air conditioning is a little strong in here. So what else could you do besides air conditioning? We're going to talk about that today. Also, because today is Monday, we have Me, Myself, and I. We do this every Monday, and we talk about some things that are typically human behavior, things that we do or things that we feel, and perhaps the reasons why. And today, we're going to talk about why you should stop setting your thermostat at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 22 degrees Celsius. So this comes from the U.S., this article, but I think it's very relevant to wherever you might be. 22 degrees Celsius, does that sound about right to you? That actually sounds a little bit low for me. I usually set mine to about 23 or 24. 22 is just like a little bit too cool. And we're going to talk about that in this article, like why do we kind of have different feelings about what is the right temperature? Everybody's different, right? And then, of course, today in hour #2, we'll get to our perfect playlist. We try to pick the best songs for every situation. And this week, we've got our theme of cover songs, some of the best covers. So that'll be our perfect playlist for today. And to get back to the idea of what makes you comfortable, what temperature makes you comfortable, that's my question of the day. I would like to know, what is your ideal temperature to be comfortable? 편안하다고 느끼는 이상적인 온도는 몇 도인가요? So for me, I think, 24 seems to be like the number that I'm always like happy with. If I go up to 25, it's just like a little bit, little uncomfortable. 26, I'm kind of like, just starting to feel a little sluggish. But lower than 24, I start to feel just, I don't know, not antsy. I can't sit still. I got to like move. I fidget around. So I'm curious, what is the ideal temperature for you? And of course, it might depend on whether you're at home or whether you're at work. Especially at work, you might not have any control of that. But even the car, right? Even if you're driving in a car and you're the one who's in control of the temperature, which is not always the case, well, what temperature do you usually go for? I'm thinking 24 is my usual. So let me know what your ideal temperature to be comfortable is. Not to be, overly cool, to be comfortable. You can reach us here at shop 9050 or pound 9050 for 101. Or, of course, you can reach us for free on Kakao Talk. If you just search BEFM or Busan영어방송, you can add us there and send us a message. And then you can also, as I mentioned before, if you go to the App Store on your smartphone, just search BEFM or Busan영어방송. You can download that smartphone app and you can leave us some messages after you log in. So let me know what temperature is good for you, and I'll give you some time to think about it. We're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Butterfly Tree by Excuse Me Moses, and then we'll be back with Hot Off the Press. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Butterfly Tree by Excuse Me Moses, and now it's time for Hot Off the Press. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. We bring you two of the newest, hottest tracks from the world of music. There are so many songs released every week, but we try to choose the best ones and introduce them to you. Our first song for today is Lies, Lies, Lies by Morgan Wallen, and fans have been eagerly awaiting the release of Wallen's new single, Lies, 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 for months. He first shared the song with fans back in March, and there was a video of Morgan performing the song, and he released it as part of his Abbey Road sessions. And it's a heartbreak song. It's a ballad. It details Warren trying to convince a past love that he's moved on from the relationship, but ultimately, as the title might indicate, he admits he's lying. And the song has not actually been available on streaming platforms until July 5th, so there's been a lot of demand for this one. Our second song for today is Hurt by One Republic. And One Republic is an American pop rock band. They're going to release their upcoming sixth studio album called Artificial Paradise on this Friday, July 12th. It's their first album in 3 years since their 2021 album called Human. And from the album, the band released the seventh single called Hurt, along with a lyric video on July 5th. Now, this track was actually written and produced by Ryan Tedder and Tyler Spry. And according to band frontman Ryan Tedder, Artificial Paradise, their album, technically started with a song called West Coast that we started in a hotel room in New Orleans in 2016. That song led to a series of others over the last 8 years that didn't quite make sense together, but we kept collecting songs and kept writing, as we do, in different hotel rooms and studios dotted around the world. So that came together over a long period of time and sounds like many different hotels. It should be an interesting listen for sure. So our two songs today for Hot Off the Press are Lies, Lies, Lies by Morgan Wallen, followed by Hurt by One Republic. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. You just heard Hurt by One Republic, and before that was Lies, Lies, Lies by Morgan Wallen. And those were our two songs from Hot Off the Press for today. And we've been talking about the temperature, and Andrew just strolled in here like he's like, oh, it's a great temperature. Meanwhile, I'm here shivering in the corner. I'm shivering away. I can't warm up. But yeah, that's what I'm talking about today. Why we have different ideal temperatures. Why we all can't agree. You know, somebody's always fidgeting with the controls. So I want to know, what's your ideal temperature to be comfortable? 편안하다고 느끼는 이상적인 온도는 몇 도인가요? So you can reach us, of course, at 샵9050 or pound 9050 for 101, or you can send us a free message if you go to Kakao and search BEFM or Busan영어방송 there. And also, I mentioned before, you can download our smartphone app if you just go to the App Store, and you can search BEFM or Busan영어방송 there. You can download the app, log in, you leave us some comments, and you can also take the show wherever you want to go. And I got a message I want to share really quick here from 1656 Nim, who says, I think it's good because 20 degrees is not sweaty and it's not hot or cold. So 20, we were speculating that the studio might be 20 degrees right now at this moment, and I'm not comfortable. I'm a little cold. I'm one of those people who gets like cold easily though, like never shake my hand in the wintertime. I got the cold hands. It's uncomfortable. You don't want that. You don't want to experience that. So I think for me personally, 20 degrees is a little bit too cold, but 1656 Nim says 20 sounds good. It's not sweaty. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's like perfect. It's like, what is that? The story with the three bears? Yes, the porridge is perfect at 20 degrees. Cool. Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. Send me your message. Let me know what ideal temperature for you. And I'm going to ask Andrew. We'll be right back with Andrew in a second, and I'm going to quiz him about what his ideal temperature is. All right, we're back with Need to Know and Andrew on this Monday afternoon. He's looking so comfortable over here.
It's fantastic.
He just like strolled in with like shorts on, short sleeves, and I'm sitting here like, oh my goodness.
You forgot your parka.
I know, I need it. I was actually, before we started the show, I did have like a flannel on. I'm serious. I can't warm up. I don't know. I've always got this problem. It's like winter is my least favorite season because I never get warm enough.
Okay.
I'm like uncomfortable the entire winter.
And now you're complaining about being
I'm
cold.
complaining about summer, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of life
Welcome
is
to the Casey McKeever Complaint Factory.
That's what I'm here for.
Time is 2:30 on the dot.
It's too early. It's too early.
Yeah.
So what about you? Like, what's temperature do you typically set things to when you're in the car or at home?
I don't know. I would say when I'm at home, I just put it on max. AC's just to get it out as quickly as it's boom and then fill up the room. I don't know. I would say if I'm sitting in a room for an extended period of time, I think as long as I didn't come out or come into the room from walking outside for an extended period of time. It also depends if there's a fan on the go as well.
It does,
but between 20 and 22 is comfortable.
Yeah, so this is like perfect for you right here.
Yeah, definitely 100%.
You're like not even like your hands are probably normal temperature.
Yes.
Touch my hand.
He's freezing, people.
It's for real. It's for real.
Freezing.
I'm free. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and actually, the reason I was talking about this today is I did read an article over the weekend, and I was like, it kind of does explain that people do have different temperatures that they're comfortable at.
100%.
Some of the science behind that as well. Metabolism is a big factor.
Well, also, there's always I always get this from being from the East Coast to Canada. When it gets cold here in the winter, people are like, well, why are you cold? And that's the voice they use as well. That's exactly how they sound.
They always approach you with that.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Why are you cold? You're from Canada.
Bears are talking to you.
Exactly. And I'm like, because the temperature's below zero. Now, I will say when it gets to, below zero at a certain point, as long as I'm, wearing my layers or bundled up properly, I don't complain about being cold. I'm totally fine. So I get that aspect of it. Maybe I just know how to prepare myself better when I go outside.
Right.
But if I'm, running from the car to a building and stuff like that, sure, I'm maybe not wearing a big, down jacket or whatnot. So
I am.
it's, yeah.
also, all winter long.
Maybe I am actually. I don't know. And then I complain as well.
Nice. Well, that's why we're here to complain together. And
Yeah.
actually, Lee Kelly Nim says that 20 degrees sounds like it's Canadian summer, so you probably love this.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. My hometown, and I'm heading back home next week. And, if it's over 25, people are like, yeah, this is good. This is
Really?
hot. Yeah.
Like over 25's hot.
But it's also because we live right on the coast. And unlike Busan gets this from time to time, but not that much. We get the fog a lot.
Oh man, we've been getting it in my neighborhood in Busan this week.
Yeah, which
Have you?
Yeah, exactly. But that's kind of uncommon for Busan.
Yeah.
Maybe early morning, late at night, maybe, but not during the hot summer days. It's not usually foggy in Busan. Like if you're at the beach, you're not dealing with the fog.
Right.
In my hometown, it's also because of the tide. The tide goes out, there's no fog. The tide comes in, it brings the fog. Because the cold Atlantic Ocean water mixing with the hot sand and the hot air. that's
Reminds
where
me
you're
of a
getting the
horror
fog.
film, The
Yeah.
Fog. Have you ever
there
seen
you
The
go.
Fog?
Yeah. There you go.
John Carpenter classic. Does bad things come with the fog, or is just like people accept it?
Always.
Oh dear.
Yes.
I will not be going there. Okay. Well, cool. Wait, you know what? So, yeah, I mean, this kind of explains a little bit why Andrew looks a bit more comfortable on camera than I do.
Hey,
this is
there you
his
go.
temperature. He's enjoying it. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Andrew, for letting me know, because I wanted to know that I was strange. Now I really know how strange I am.
But I will also say for our listeners, and we'll get to our topic here in a moment, that when you're hosting and you're in this room for an extended period of time,
yeah.
which I've done multiple occasions, it is for probably the first 20 minutes, you're like, oh, this is good. And then if you go out to go to the bathroom or get a drink and come back, you're like, ugh,
Right.
this is freezing.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what happened. Right before the show started, I was
Exactly.
like, I'm going to take a quick break. Bad idea.
Yeah,
Bad
totally.
idea.
Exactly.
So what are we going to talk about
we
today
are here.
on Need to Know?
Need to know. So a new survey has found the average parent has to come up with 4 new activities daily to keep their children entertained. Now,
That'll raise your temperature.
As someone who also has 2 children,
Yeah.
Casey, do you come up with new activities for your children on the
No.
daily?
No.
Not like this.
How?
I don't know. Maybe these people are a little smarter than us. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. How do you have time to come up with? So let me make sure I understood that. 4 new activities daily.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That seems like quite a lot.
That's
Or
a lot of internet searching.
Maybe my children just aren't, they don't get bored that easy. And that's what we're going to talk about, really. So a poll of 2,000 U.S. parents found 4 in 10 parents always or often struggle to find ideas to keep their kids entertained.
Never. I'm going to be one of those weirdos. Never. Not at all. Not a problem for me.
The house always needs to be cleaned.
Yes.
Get to work.
Right. Yeah, right. There's always stuff to do.
Exactly. So while most parents believe their children have active imaginations, the average kid gets bored in just 33 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And around 47% of children quickly become bored with what they're doing. Now, I can see that.
Yeah, I see
Totally.
that. Yep.
But it's also, I think it's the activities you have your kids doing as well. If you're like, hey, fold this paper, and they're not really
And then
into, folding paper,
Right.
it's going to not be really good. So now a third of parents said that they feel stressed about finding new ideas for their kids as a result.
Wow, not at all.
And then, the group that commissioned this poll revealed 81% of parents have found their children are always looking for something to do when they come home from school or daycare.
Okay, so I got it. I just have to ask because, again, I'm starting to feel like a weirdo. We do not have this experience at my house at all. Do you? Do you have this struggle for
I guess-
entertaining your kids?
I mean, if we're inside over, like, if it was like raining for 5 days in a row, sure. But usually the kids can entertain themselves.
Yeah.
Or, we try to limit screen time as much as possible, but the TV might go on or they play with the tablet or something like that. But it's all, in moderation.
Right.
But then my kids enjoy reading.
Yeah.
They make comic books.
They make 'em.
They they're just doodling what they're reading
Sure.
and stuff like that.
Sell them.
Or
you might be able to sell those.
yeah, there you go. Or if I'm making lunch or dinner, get them involved. There's always lots of little things you can do.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
also parents shared that outside of the classroom, their kids are more likely to watch TV, 80%. That's a lot.
Wow.
Than to play with toys. Many also said their kids like to play with siblings and friends after class or play with play sets. That's
Right.
cool. Happy
Yep.
days. Well, like Okay, no, sit in your room by yourself. No, don't complain about this.
Right.
Over half are concerned about the amount of their kids' screen time that they spend in front of a screen.
Right.
The average kid reportedly spends 13 hours in front of a screen per week.
Do you think that's the average of your house?
I don't know. Again, it depends on the weather.
Right.
I think, if we're at home, and I'm not saying we've exhausted all of our ideas, but I can understand that, they might want to watch something. Or if we're watching a movie, on the weekends, usually we get at least one movie in on the weekends.
Oh, everybody together?
Usually me and the kids and my wife is like, oh, me time.
Gotcha. Somebody's got to escape. Somebody 100%. Must take advantage.
And I'm totally okay with that.
Cool.
Because maybe my mentality is the same as my children and the movies they watch, so it's all right.
Right.
So
you're on the same level.
Exactly. So now other kids were found to prefer more hands-on play. And this would be like, coloring, drawing, doing arts and crafts, or like sensory play and things like that.
Just basically involved with something physically, moving things.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is important. How about at your household? Is there like, the blocks or coloring, these kind of things?
I step on Lego or the blocks.
Yeah.
Let go, I said.
Yeah.
I step on those, I would say, about twice a week at 4 a.m. If I have to get up for whatever reason, stepped on another one.
I was at a shopping center over the weekend, and they had, it was at one of those stores, and they had the area where you could play with them.
Right.
And the kids, you kind of had to reach in, but there was like some smaller kids. They were sitting right in with the blocks, which you're probably not supposed to do.
No.
This kid was probably 2.5 or 3, and he's just trouncing around in there. And every time he steps, I wince. I'm like, oh my. And he's just smiling, and nothing's hurting him.
No idea, right?
And I'm like, oh my God. But he had no shoes on.
Socks?
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
Bare feet.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
That just shows you like how adaptable babies are.
Yeah, there you go.
know?
And he was putting the Lego together with his feet too. No, I'm just joking.
Probably.
The blocks together. Sorry. Exactly. Yeah. So now on this year, like we were just talking, like of course we like to get our kids moving with their toys and hands-on things instead of just sitting on the sofa.
Right.
Reading on a tablet. Or also I know a lot of people who rather use physical books.
We got that, yeah.
Or turning the page. Actually, my kids enjoy that more, which I'm kind of happy about.
Yeah, me too.
I'm like, all right, good. Because I've downloaded books and put them on the tablet for them. And then I showed one of my sons, I said, but look, you can actually draw on this too. Then he give it back to me and, Dog Man's got a cat on his face now or these kind of things. Right. It's kind of funny, right? So it's interesting. So they said that parents report it. Their kids felt happier when crafting than when having screen time.
Also like making things.
Yeah, but also just doing things with their hands. They seemed more like their mood, their emotional being was better than if they were just watching TV.
Right.
Whereas the way you want to test this at home is if your kids are watching TV and you stand in front of the TV, they freak out.
Right.
If you're coloring with them or something and you take a color pencil or something from them, they don't get angry.
No,
they're just like, oh, you need that? Or, oh, I'm not done with that. Like, at least you're having some conversation. It's a little bit different, yeah.
Because their brain is engaged in a way where, they're actually creating something. Whereas, TV is very passive. Like,
exactly.
They might be creating a story in their mind, but they're so intent on what's happening on that screen that, anything that breaks that focus, they're like, give it back, give it back.
Exactly. So, we're looking at ways to, like, curb the boredom, all right? And I think this is what the big idea is. And it says that, most parents, just finishing up here before we get to a song, most parents find it important that their children are involved in productive forms of play and encourage mental and emotional development even when they're not in the classroom. I think that's really important as a father.
Yeah.
I hope that I do a good enough job that when they come home, they're still learning. It's not just
they're always learning.
Alone play.
Right.
Which also they definitely need that as well.
Yeah.
You got to kind of get your kids and test them and do different things. And then hopefully they can also do some of your work as well.
Hey, how about grading these papers for me?
Yeah. Hey.
Get that red pen.
Your English is getting better. Come on now. It's all right. So likewise, they believe that hands-on or sensory play is important for a child's brain development, along with being an important contributor to their creativity, confidence, social skills, and critical thinking skills. And a lot of people would say, and professionals alike, that this is something that needs to be done, from, I don't want to say the minute they're born.
But a young age.
If you try to start this at like 6 years old, I'm not saying you're too late, but professionals say earlier is better, and making sure you are involved in what they're doing, not just being like, oh, here's the tablet.
Right.
Which
exactly.
they can learn a lot from that too. But
yes,
be involved with your kids' development is kind of the name of the game here, if you don't want them to be bored.
Right. And I think having a variety of opportunities and chances of different things to play with,
Totally.
You don't have to really set up too much. You can just have things around and they'll do it themselves.
Yeah. Or just have a plan for the weekend. If you think, all right, we're going to do some painting, you can get an activity to last 3 or 4 hours if you really, put some effort into it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then they might want to do it again, which is, the name of the game. And I think in that aspect is just, if you're going to spend the money or whatnot to have the material,
right,
hopefully you get to use it.
I know, right? Because sometimes this stuff is costly.
Totally.
And with that, we're going to take a song break. And sometimes the first thing we think when we spend a lot of money is, I want you back. So we're going to listen to Jackson 5's I Want You Back. And then we'll be back with more Andrew and Need to Know. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just
I'll
heard,
wash your back.
Did you hear him? Did you hear Michael in the background there? Yeah, I want you back. That was Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 with I Want You Back. And we are back with Andrew and Need to Know. And before the song break, we were talking about how to keep kids from getting bored. And I was feeling so fortunate because I was like, I don't think I have any of these issues. And my kids are a little bit younger, so maybe that'll change.
But also I think if you're an active person with your kids, I think it's, there's times where maybe
I have to engage with them?
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Two-way mirror, you're looking in, they're still functioning.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
I'll leave them. Yeah, no, they're fine. Yeah. They're playing by themselves. Actually, they do play by themselves and amongst themselves. I got 2 kids, 1 3 and 1 7. And they always seem to be either like enjoying themselves separately or, sometimes they'll play together.
Yeah.
And then until the fighting starts.
Mine are 7 and 9, and it's the exact same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess we've been fortunate that way because, according to that information, a lot of people struggle with that. And Lee Kelly Nim is saying, in his opinion, boredom is just a lack of imagination. Learning how to keep yourself entertained is every child's homework.
Yeah.
And I think for them that they don't feel like it's homework. I think they feel like it's just natural to be like, all right, what do I want to do now? And they can do
hey,
that.
what should we do?
Yeah. They can do that.
But
Enjoy
I think
that
if they're
time.
used to you always telling them what they're going to do, that's what it comes down to as well. But we're moving on to something else here.
What do we got?
Now, I'm not sure if you're on the Talk. The Talk as in the app. But
Look at me. I'm too old for that. Too old. I'm getting too old for this, Riggs.
Getting them all heated in here. There was a trend that gained traction back in June about the potentially harmful effects of sunscreen or sun cream. I know that the term sun cream is...
What do you say?
I think I used to say sunscreen a lot more.
okay.
And now I say sunscreen or sun cream more.
You do the cream?
There
that
is
sounds edible to me.
There's a little bit difference. There is a difference, like technically about it, but
I say sunblock. Where does that fit in?
Well, I think that's even a different one. That's like
for real?
Yeah, because that's more like the zinc oxide on the nose,
I need
stuff
it.
like that. Yes, that means like you're not getting any vitamin D, nothing
Don't want it.
at all.
Get that vitamin D out of my system. Tired of it.
So the anti-sunscreen movement has gained traction online, particularly on platforms like the Talk and the Gram and these kind of things. Some influencers are promoting the avoidance of sunscreen.
I think that sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, claiming that sunscreen chemicals cause cancer or may lead to vitamin D deficiencies.
All right, I'm going to guess if you get advice from people on the Talk, you're probably ticking up the wrong Talk there, right? It's just like not a good place to look for medical information, right?
Well, I mean, there are medical professionals on there.
Sure.
And they probably
if they have credentials.
Yeah, sure. And they are because they feel like it's a way to reach the younger community.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if you're
It
just
depends on what's their handle.
If it's Casey McKeever on there talking about something, I think you're going to be no.
No,
exactly.
don't listen.
Or even me.
Yeah.
No.
We are not medical professionals. We
No.
may have our opinion.
Yeah, we definitely have those.
We definitely have that. I personally don't like vitamin D. I'm just kidding. Vitamin D is necessary, I know.
All right, so with the holiday weekend, in America, it just passed, and a lot of this information is coming from America that there was a lot of dermatologists who were worried about, the July 4th weekend and also the Canada Day holidays in Canada. And then,
Why so?
Well, just because people are following these people's advice.
Oh, I see. It's
Yeah.
worried in that way, not about like firework explosions.
Yeah, so
okay.
well, maybe you need some more blockage on there.
Yes.
So dermatologists are getting worried. So there's a dermatologist, Dr. Janine Downey, went on and said, it was not like this before. And she's a board certified dermatologist. So, somebody who can speak about this stuff.
And should.
Not Johnny, Jimmy, and Joe, who are just on the Talk kind
Hey,
of thing.
I follow them.
Yeah, so I see easily 6 patients per week that are anti-sunscreen.
Wow.
Where it used to be maybe 1 every other week or 1 a month. And now it's just cutting crazy, she goes on to say.
Wow, that's a big change.
She said that in the last 2 weeks, she's diagnosed 3 squamous cell and 2 malignant melanomas, both of which can turn cancerous if are not caught early enough. All right. So,
Right.
And that's just me, just one little dermatologist. She doesn't have a massive clinic or anything like that. So can you imagine if you were somebody who sees, I would say tens of patients a day,
Right.
and in the run of a week, if you're over at 100 or 200 patients, it's going to be a lot more than that. So the movement picked up steam here in June with creators online telling followers in no uncertain terms, stop wearing sunscreen.
Oy vey.
Now, at first, the post received, tens of thousands of views. Dermatologists on the platform then began sharing their own reactions. So this is where you kind of can have the medical professionals online, if they're already on the platforms, being able to give their opinion and say, hey, listen, you're
Don't
getting
listen.
false information
Right. Hey,
from
listen,
these people,
don't listen.
right?
Yeah,
So
right.
dermatologists on the platform then began sharing their own reactions, like I just said, with those videos gaining even more views. And more recently, influencers, there's one in particular, Nara Smith, went viral sharing an at-home sunscreen recipe to her 8 million followers. That dermatologist, no surprise here, say does little to protect wearers from sun damage.
What kind of sunscreen would you make at home? Like mayonnaise? Like what? Okay, so I'm gonna guess. I'm upset with Nara Smith and that she has how many followers?
8 million.
8 million. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not just jealous. I'm actually upset because it sounds like she doesn't need to be giving advice. So what do you do in this case when these people that a lot of people are listening to are actually not doctors?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things here is that it's, a lot of people are taking this info and taking it to heart, saying, all right, we're going to do this kind of stuff. So, in March, the Orlando Health Cancer Institute found that 1 in 7 adults under the age of 35 say daily sunscreen use is more harmful than direct sun exposure.
Say what?
Yeah, I don't understand where they're getting this. So then she went on to say, I tell my patients, if you want your face to look like a leather bag later, that's up to you.
I'm starting to get there.
But that's, that's just common sense. You need this, all right? But I guess common sense isn't so common sometimes, all right?
I guess, and you know what? When social media enables like nonsensical ideas to spread so quickly, this is inevitable. This kind of stuff will happen.
Exactly. And people are so gullible, they just think, all right, if it's online, it's true.
If Nara Smith said it, well, it must be true.
The FDA here, I know we're short on time. The FDA is currently investigating potential concerns, but this says there's no evidence of sunscreens being unsafe. It's called for more data on the 12 ingredients that are currently in sunscreens. But there is a thing like you can't use certain sunscreens if you're in certain places. Like I know in Hawaii and these kind of places,
right,
because of the corals and stuff like that, it has to be organic sunscreen and things like that. But that's different than it just not working. They're looking for the protection of the ocean and the corals and things like that. So the problem is, if you're going to be out in the sun, you need it. And they said, if you want to know how you get these children or these people from Gen Z, Gen X, or whatever to start wearing it, tell them that if they don't, they're going to have massive pores that look like potholes. Ooh. Then they'll start wearing it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you know what? Both of these stories are connected. You know what the solution for both of these are? For less boredom from children and less problems for adults.
Yes.
Less screen time.
There you go.
Less screen
in total.
Don't watch.
Exactly.
Don't watch what people are talking out there.
So for our listeners who are wondering, when should you avoid the sun? Peak UV indexes across the world, really, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. are the peak times.
Right.
Make sure if you're outside during those times, you are covered up, whether it's with some layers that are light and when you're in the sun, you're not going to be too uncomfortable.
Right.
Wear a hat is a good one.
Definitely.
Which is great.
Every time.
And also sunblock that is, if you're using a lower SPF, make sure you are reapplying it a certain amount of times a day. If you're using a higher one, you're not going to have to reapply it as much. But you will have to reapply it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, one time is not, done for the day.
Definitely not.
Right, and I make that mistake a lot.
Oh, 100%. Me too.
Yeah, so definitely. These are two things we needed to know. So thank you so much for bringing these in on this Monday. Andrew, good to see you again. And we're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Ships by Walners, and then we'll be back at 3 p.m.
부산영어방송.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전 기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
Hello, I'm Mona Farouk from Egypt. When I moved to Busan in 2014, my daughter was only 12. She came with me and her brother because I started my work as a professor of Arabic language in Busan University of Foreign Studies. I remember how excited my kids were when seeing the first snow in Busan. That year, my daughter started special training for figure skating. In Busan, she was lucky to be able to take serious steps in achieving the dream of becoming a professional ice skater. Many foreigners come to Busan carrying their love for the Korean culture. I was one of those who were fond with Busan's culture, society, history, and all aspects of Korean life. Busan, the city of opportunities. Global City Busan, we are in it together. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산영어방송.
The time is now 3 o'clock.
baby, yeah.
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot with Casey McKeever. We are now in the second hour of the show, and we just kicked it off, with Stars Are Falling by Darius and Finley. And if that sounded a little familiar to you too, yes, there was definitely a song in there that I've heard before. But Darius and Finley are actually an Austrian-Germany-based team. One's a DJ, and it's an EDM project, and they're known for their tours across Europe. In addition, they've performed in Germany, Spain, Poland, Switzerland. They've also worked as support acts for well-known artists, including David Guetta, Avicii, Martin Garrix, Alan Walker, and Steve Aoki. Darius and Finley have reached more than 155 million views on the YouTube, more than 210 million streams on a streaming platform, and won Austria's Amadeus Music Award. So they're doing pretty good for themselves, in case you were wondering. So that was to start off the show live here on this Monday afternoon. We're at BEFM 90.5 here in Busan. And if you're in Gijang, Jeongwon, and Noksan areas, we're broadcasting on 103.3 FM. In Seoul, we're on TBS EFM 101.3 FM. And in Gwangju, we're on GFN 98.7 FM. Thank you for joining us, wherever you might be today. Hello to Enid there, saying hi in the chat there. We were talking about kids in the first hour with Andrew. We were talking about why kids are so bored. And actually, I felt kind of lucky. I think Andrew and I largely did not have that experience, but it sounds like there's a lot of parents out there who are dealing with boredom for their children. The big suggestion, the big takeaway from me, well, perhaps a little less screen time. Let them just kind of make up their own things. Often, I find my kids are always doing what they want to do, maybe too much so. Maybe I should think about that another way. It's actually hard to get them not doing what they, don't want to do, like homework or anything like that. Homework. I don't want to do homework either, though. I totally understand. And hello to Shalala out there. Thanks for the messages. Another message just about what we were talking about before. Another thing Andrew had brought up on Need to Know was that there's a lot of poor information out there about sunscreen out on the social media these days. I wasn't aware of that, but I can imagine anytime somebody gets fired up about something enough to make a video about it and, anti whatever it's sunscreen or anti any other thing that might be common sense, a lot of people are probably going to listen. So a message from another listener out there, fact check what you're watching online. Yes, fact check what you're watching online for sure. So if you notice that you're getting, information from somebody on social media who's actually not an accredited doctor or has no accreditation whatsoever, consider the source. That's always a good thing to do. Consider the source. I mean, even when you watch the news, consider what the angle might be, right? Why are they giving this information? What's the gain for them in it? And so think about it. Think about what you're watching out there for sure. Sunscreen, definitely necessary. And, are there health concerns? Sure. I mean, I'm sure there are things that we should always be aware of what we're putting into on our bodies. But, when the good obviously outweighs the bad, nobody wants skin cancer for sure, right? So sunscreen is definitely a necessity in my life. I'll put it that way. For my personal choice, I need it. All right. Okay, no more preaching. We've got a lot coming up in hour number 2 still. We're going to have our daily list. For today, we're going to talk about alternatives to air conditioning this summer, things that you can try. In Me, Myself, and I, we're going to talk about why we have this struggle. Andrew was perfectly comfortable in the studio here. We guess it's like maybe 2021. I actually feel better. Maybe now that I've been talking and moving around. Yes, raised my body temperature a little bit, but I'm still a little cold. Why can't we agree on what the right temperature is? And then also, we're going to have our perfect playlist for today. Our theme for this week, cover songs, some of the best cover songs you'll hear. And, of course, today's question of the day, what's your ideal temperature to be comfortable? 편안하다고 느끼는 이상적인 온도는 몇 도인가요? So you can send us your message here, shop 9050 or pound 9050 for 101. You can reach us for free at Kakao Talk if you just search BEFM or 부산영어방송. Send us a message for free there. Or you can download our smartphone app. If you go to your app store, search BEFM or 부산영어방송, download the app, You can log in, leave us some comments, and of course, you can listen to our program anywhere you want. That's pretty cool. I got a message from Neil Nim who says, 25 degrees is good for me in summer. I can stay all day with 25 degrees air conditioning. I think 25 is doable for me. Like, I usually go 24. 24 seems to be my sweet spot. But 25, yeah, I can do that. And especially, I was working on Saturday. I was working in an office on Saturday, and they did have it set to 24, and I kind of was like, I got a little chilly, so I cranked it to 25, and then I was comfortable. So 24, 25, that's definitely my range. I'm curious, what is your ideal temperature to be comfortable? So think about it. Send me a message. We're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to, let's see. We've got Friday Night Vampires by Florian Horwath, and then we'll be back with our daily list. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Friday Night Vampires by Florian Horwath, and that was an interesting voice. I liked it. I enjoyed that for sure. Now it's time for our daily list, and today's daily list, we're going to look at DIY alternatives, do-it-yourself alternatives to air conditioning to try this summer, because I don't know if you're like me, but since last week, we've had the AC on, it seems like every day at the house, and that means next month, I guess. Next month, our electricity bill will be coming up. It's going to be a bad surprise. And one of the reasons for us at home to have the air conditioning on is not exactly just the heat; it's the humidity. And we have that function, JSUP, I believe. JSUP is that function on our air conditioning which removes the humidity from the air, but it also gets all of the rooms very cool. A little too cool for me. So I've always got this kind of, I don't really enjoy air conditioning. I know it sounds like I like to complain a lot, doesn't it? I'm never happy. That's not true. It's not true. I'm actually perfectly comfortable a lot of times with opening the windows, as many windows as possible, and letting the air come through. But sometimes that's not always the best choice because maybe the humidity is way out of control, or maybe it's just a bunch of hot air that's coming in. So, okay, are there other things we can do besides using air conditioning? Let's hope so, because air conditioning is very expensive. Our electricity bills will often be much higher when we use air conditioning a lot. So here's some 15 ideas that you can try. And I'm curious, actually, if you've tried any of these, if you've found they're successful, let me know. Because there's a couple that I definitely use at home that definitely work. But others, I'm not sure. Number one is to hack an AC, hack an air conditioning unit. And so I thought, what am I going to crack it open and get into the electronics? That's not what they mean. One way you can do this, if you have a few fans laying around your house, if you got those stand-up fans or circular fans or perhaps ceiling fans, put a bowl of ice in front of the fan. Okay, so fill a bowl with ice or ice packs, place the bowl in front of the fan. So when you turn the fan on, the cool air will become even colder as it passes over the ice, leaving your room feeling breezy and significantly cooler. All right. It seems like I've heard this way back when somewhere before. Does anybody actually do this? Would you actually go through the effort of, it doesn't take a lot of effort, I guess. Find a bowl, find some ice, put the two together, put it in front of a fan. I think I'm going to try this tonight because I had on the air conditioning in my bedroom last night and it was too cold. I couldn't sleep well. So I typically would prefer a fan over air conditioning anyway. I think I'm going to try this tonight. A bowl full of ice right in front of the fan. See if it works. If you've noticed that this works, let me know so I don't waste my time and then wake up with a bowl full of water that I just have to dump out for no reason. Curious. Number two, go green. So number one, when they said hack an AC, I see what they mean. They're saying create your own air conditioning. Yes, do not hack your air conditioning, especially if you have the smart air conditioning at home. Do not attempt to hack that. For number two, we've got go green. Okay, this is something we do at home. We've got a lot of plants. Plants add color, they add personality, but they can actually help cool the air. You might have like a ficus tree or an aloe vera plant or a snake plant, one of those like kind of long, weird leaf things, or bamboo palm even. So these can actually release extra moisture from their leaves, and that goes back into the air and helps cool down your place, apparently. I can't imagine how many plants you would actually need, though. It sounds like you would need more than just one. I would assume a lot, actually. So this is something, we do this on our veranda, but we don't have them inside the house. I'll think about it. Perhaps move some indoors, as long as the kids don't knock them over. Number three is something we do at our house. We have a ceiling fan, and usually a lot of times when people come into our apartment, they're like, oh, what is that? So ceiling fans, I think, are not particularly popular in Korea, but I think they're kind of getting more common. The ceiling fan works in two directions, in case you didn't know. If you turn it counterclockwise, it will push the air down. And if you turn it clockwise, it will kind of push the air up. And you want to have it pushing air down in the summer, and you want it pushing air up in the winter. And to be honest, if you don't have like a huge ceiling space in your apartment or your house, it's not going to make that much of a difference. Those are typically for, like really high ceilings, but it works. It works to a degree. And we actually placed our ceiling fan directly, it's not hitting the air conditioning unit, but we have it close to an air conditioning vent in our living room. And it works. It just circulates that cool air from the air conditioning. And a lot of times they do say, according to research on how much people spend on electricity, if you run a fan with air conditioning rather than just running air conditioning alone, it will let you turn the air conditioning unit up a little bit higher. So you can save some money that way. So good idea. If you don't have a ceiling fan, think about it. I have some people I know are actually afraid of them. So if you have a fear of ceiling fans, perhaps that's not the best choice for you. But if you don't, they work great. I've always had one everywhere I've ever lived. And ceiling fans are always in use at my house. Number four, pull the curtains. I don't like to do this First thing I do when I wake up is pull those curtains apart. I want to see some sunlight. However, if you don't need it in the room, perhaps leave them closed. That will keep that room cooler throughout the day. Is it worth it? Yeah, probably. If you don't want to spend a lot on electricity, yeah, consider it. Just keep your curtains closed in the rooms that you're not using or that you don't need light in. And if you don't have any curtains yet, maybe now's the time to get them. You can get a blackout shade as well, or you can get like a window tinting. That's a possibility as well. If you don't want to do like a full curtain, if you're annoyed by the curtains. Yeah, there's other options out there, but basically the idea is to block a lot of that light and heat that are coming from outside. Saves you money. Number 5, check what your sheets are. Check the blend of your sheets. In the summertime, you probably only want to be using cotton sheets that are lightweight and breathable. My poor son, I just noticed his bed was covered in like one of these, not cotton. I don't know what it is. Some kind of polyester, I'm sure. I would just be sitting in a pool of sweat if I were him. So yes, change to the cotton if it's summertime. And also, perhaps if you like to wear more clothes to bed, summertime, wear less. And that will help you out too. Stay cool. Number 6, this is something we don't do at home, but if you use the kitchen, perhaps try not to cook, during the day. Suddenly, maybe use the microwave a lot more in the summer because the microwave will typically create a lot less heat in the kitchen. But yeah, we usually cook on the stove, so we're creating a lot of heat throughout the day. That's probably not going to save us money in the long run. So if it's possible for you to not use your kitchen during the day, do it. Yeah, that'll save you money. Kind of related, number 7, do your chores at night. If you're doing dishwashing, if you got a dishwasher, or if you're doing laundry, and especially if you're running a dryer, do it at night instead of the daytime. Wait till the sun goes down, and that will keep your house cooler than it would if you do it during the day. That heat all adds up throughout the day, right? And then you typically fight that with air conditioning. This is an interesting idea for me. Number 8, actually use your exhaust fans. Typically a bathroom and a kitchen will have exhaust fans, and the purpose of them is to remove air, and especially in the kitchen it'll be hot air. Apparently, according to this, and this is a legit source, this came from Forbes magazine. If you use the exhaust fans in your bathroom and your kitchen throughout the day, not even when you're just cooking or when you're in the bathroom, it's a good way to remove hot air from those rooms. And for us, we always seem to be fighting against humidity in our bathroom, so perhaps that will work for that as well. So I think I'm going to consider that. Number 9, screen time. Screen time is, we were talking about that with Andrew in the first hour. Screen time is a problem. But we mean a different kind of screen time. So not screens, looking at screens like tablets and TVs. What they're talking about here is have screens over your windows and have time where you open the windows, especially early in the morning or after the sun goes down. Open your windows, and if you have screens on them, that will keep the mosquitoes out. We had mosquitoes suddenly appear in our house last week, and I don't know why. I don't know how they got in, but they always get in. So make sure your screens are good. Make sure they don't have holes in them. Make sure they cover completely from top to bottom to the sides of the windows. But it's well worth it. When the, early morning, late night, open those windows, get a nice breeze in there if you can. And that is less time you have to use the air conditioning. Number 10, the suggestion I think particularly was for Americans. They recommended switching to LED light bulbs versus incandescent light bulbs. Do we even still have incandescent light bulbs here in Korea? Every light bulb I see is pretty much LED, right? So I don't think that's a big thing for anybody. But if you have incandescent light bulbs for some reason, they do put off heat, switch to LED, and then they don't put out like very little heat, if anything, right? Another quick suggestion. Knowing when to open and close the windows. This is related to that screen time. Keep your windows shut during the day, but once the temperature drops at night or early in the morning, if you wake up early, get that cross breeze going. Another interesting idea, when you got the windows open, if you have 2 fans, I'm going to give this one a try. Use one fan pointing out the window, and that will push hot air out of the house. And then directly in line with it, on the opposite side of the house, use a second fan to pull cool air into the house. I'm going to try this out. Just for science, I will do this. I will take one for the team. I want to know for science if this actually works. So if you followed me there, if you understood what I was saying, you got two fans, one pushing hot air from the house out the window, and then the other directly behind it, but on the opposite side of the house, so it can bring cool air from outside in. So you're creating like this constant flow of cool air coming in and hot air coming out. I can't imagine that this is going to work, but I'm going to try it at my house. I will try this tonight. I'll let you know tomorrow if it works. Another idea, if you don't like curtains, we don't have a lot of other options if you're in an apartment, but if you're not in an apartment, perhaps getting an awning or shutters can be an interesting way if you don't want to put curtains up around windows. Number 14, close the door. If you have rooms in your house that you don't typically use, close the door to them and don't waste air conditioning on those rooms. One issue I have with this idea is just humidity. I find if I close the doors in certain rooms in our apartment, they will get really humid in those rooms. So I don't think that'll work in our case. But it's an idea worth trying out. And of course, last one, number 15, cool yourself naturally. If it's a particularly hot day, don't drink too much caffeine. Keep yourself hydrated. Before bed, take a cold shower or use cool wash rags on your neck and wrists. Interesting. So before you go to bed, kind of cool yourself down so you're comfortable when you go to bed. Another interesting idea, if this is possible in your house, sleep downstairs or move to a cooler area of your house or apartment. Get out of the hotter areas. Perhaps if you're in a room that's facing the sun most of the day, move your bed or mattress, or perhaps sleep on a couch in a more comfortable, cooler part of the house. So there you go. These are 15 different ways that you can not use air conditioning and save yourself some money, some DIY alternatives. And that will do it for today's daily list. We're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Alice by Turning Point, and then we'll be back with Me, Myself, and I. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Elise by Turning Point. And now it's time for Me, Myself, and I. On this segment, every Monday, we talk about some interesting stories that from the world of health or psychology and well-being. And today's topic is related to temperature and why we all feel differently about it, why we can't agree on what the perfect temperature is. And the advice is to stop setting your thermostat at 22 degrees Celsius. And this comes to us from Vox. And this is basically the idea, well, if you have a thermostat on your wall that you can actually set it manually, a lot of people have a favorite temperature they set it to, right? And these days, a lot of people might have an app-controlled, like smart air conditioning, right? But still, somebody has to determine what is the optimal temperature, right? And for some reason, 22 Celsius seems to be the standard. In the United States, it would be 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And this kind of came about because somebody on social media, an economist at Indiana University named Micah Pollack, he just put this kind of harmless post. He said, I just discovered most of our friends set their air conditioning at 20 to 23 degrees Celsius during the summer. We keep ours at nearly 25 to 26. Are we monsters? And that post got thousands of replies, and most people agreed that yes, Micah's family are monsters because that's way too high. 25 to 26 is way too high for most people, apparently. And he didn't intend this by any means. He just kind of wanted to put a post out there discovering, okay, this is what I found out. Is this the norm? Well, there's a reason his family has been using 25 to 26 degrees Celsius. They were following numbers that were recommended by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. And every time these numbers come out in the United States, they kind of induce a lot of conversation, let's say. It's controversial. There'll be a local news station that does a segment on how to reduce energy consumption, lower your utility bills, and they'll come up with this number from the Environmental Protection Agency. And people will be like, what? That's ridiculous. I can't do that. I can't live like that. So what do they recommend? Is it that extreme? Well, okay, so if you're at home during the day, they recommend 26 degrees. That's a little warm for me, I'll be honest. At night, they recommend 28 degrees. And when you're away, when you're not home, they recommend 29 degrees. Now, if you think about that, that is a little bit warm. To a lot of people, thinking that, maybe setting the thermostat or the air conditioning at 28 degrees to sleep is not going to work for them. And actually, according to sleep experts, that does sound like it might not be very terribly comfortable for sleeping for 8 hours. But the issue is energy prices are not good. They always get higher. They're only expected to rise because utility companies spend more and more to make the grid in the United States and other countries more resilient to the effects of climate change. Also, extreme weather events are becoming more common. Heat waves are becoming more common. And then when you have everybody running air conditioning at max all the time, things add up very quickly, right? So perhaps maybe setting your thermostat or your air conditioning a little higher is probably not a bad idea. If you can get used to it, well, that might save you some money in the long run. According to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they say if you set your air conditioning 1 degree warmer Fahrenheit, you can save 6% on your cooling costs. So I'm assuming here, for us, we set everything by Celsius, right? So if you set 1 degree Celsius higher, would that be roughly 10%? That sounds like a pretty good deal. Well, how much does that equate to? Okay, if your cooling bill is around $170 a month, by raising your thermostat just 1 degree Fahrenheit, that would save you over $10 a month. So, all right, it's okay. That's not bad. And basically, it gets higher to a degree. The more you set your air conditioning higher, the more money you save. However, there are diminishing returns. So if you go too high, well, you're going to make yourself uncomfortable for one, but there's a limit to how much money it will save you. And there's another problem. This 26-degree baseline is not a real federal government recommendation. It's part of the EPA's Energy Star program. They do have a guide for programmable thermostat settings, but it actually doesn't recommend a specific number to set your thermostat to or air conditioning to in the summer. This all comes from numbers that came from a document in 2009. And According to somebody who actually works for the Energy Star company, a public affairs specialist said, your household temperatures are very much a personal choice. You should ultimately do what makes you comfortable. So, okay. 26 might work for some people. For other people, 26 is not going to fly, right? And the agency's actually official position is that you can save up to 10% on heating and cooling settings by simply turning your thermostat 4 to 6 degrees Celsius for 8 hours a day from its normal setting. What do they mean by that? Well, when you're not at home, if your normal setting is 22, set it to 26 and you can save up to 10% on your heating and cooling settings. So that's not bad, right? So in other words, if you're not there, why have it running full blast the whole time anyway? You're wasting electricity. You're wasting your money. Okay. Then if you think about it, nobody wants to tell them, like when it gets really hot, nobody wants the government telling them, okay, suffer, raise the heat. Okay. But actually there's other ways to cool that are related to this as well. And some of the reasons that people don't feel that 26 is too high for them or feels that it might be too cold for them, it relates to how our bodies work. So physiologically, we actually all have our own reasons for being comfortable at certain temperatures. According to Boris Kingma, who's a human thermal performance researcher, that is the coolest job title I've ever heard, at the Netherlands Institute of Applied Technology, it all comes down to a lot of different factors like the environment. That includes temperature, humidity, wind, solar radiation. If it's hot outside, obviously you feel hot, but it also plays largely because of your metabolic rate and your general physiology. That includes your age, your overall health, the clothing that you wear. All of this comes to play. So metabolism, when people talk about if they are kind of a hot-tempered person or they run hot, it might be because of their metabolism. If you have a high metabolism, your body typically produces more heat. If you have more muscle mass, you typically have a higher metabolism, you retain heat, and you prefer cooler temperatures. The opposite goes for people who have lower metabolisms, who lose heat and might need to wear a sweater in their over-air-conditioned office. Right here, that would be me. Our metabolism also naturally tends to decrease with age. So if you notice when you visit your grandparents and their house seems to be a bit warmer than you would like, there's a reason for that. Their metabolism might be a little bit lower than yours, therefore they're not creating as much heat. This is why it's so hard for people to agree on what is the right temperature. We have this issue at my house. I like the temperature a little bit cool, but in the wintertime, I need some heat. And then it's completely different. In the wintertime, my wife is like, oh, no, we don't need that much heat. And then in the summertime, she's like, we don't need that much air conditioning. We just can't seem to agree on what the match is. And that's probably the same for most families or most households, right? But the good news is your body is typically very good at acclimating to new environments. So according to the researcher Boris Kingma, if it only takes about 14 days for your body to adjust to a new baseline temperature. So let's say, for example, if you're used to living in a summer or a city where the summer is typically 27, and then you move to a hotter place where it's 32, you'll probably actually get used to it. And the same holds for thermostat settings. So if you try to adjust this at your house for yourself, if you try to adjust your air conditioning, you want to save a little money, and you raise the temperature a little bit, your body will probably also adjust in a couple weeks, especially if you adjust the clothing that you wear and if you add a fan as well. Why are fans so effective, right? Like, why do I keep recommending fans? Because they move air around your skin, they help sweat evaporate, and that helps you feel that cooling effect. That's why this humidity is so difficult for us. Because in a humid air, the air is already saturated with moisture, so your sweat actually doesn't evaporate effectively. So when they talk about that dry heat and how dry heat's not that bad, the reason for that is in dry heat, your sweat evaporates more readily and it makes it easier for you to stay cool. So what do? If you're not into dry heat and you're stuck in that humid weather we have, use a fan. And I got a couple messages related to this. Let's see. Choi Hisuk-nim weighing in on this. I set my aircon at the highest temperature at first with a fan, and then when it gets cool, I set it at 26. Oh, there's the magic number. So 26 works for you. Cool. Yeah, and when you use a fan, it'll keep that cooling circulating throughout your house, right? And that saves you money in the long run as well. One more message I wanted to get to really quick. Lee Kelly Nim says, I know people who would put a bowl of ice in front of their fan. Cool. So people really do this. All right, I will try it. I got 2 things I want to try when I get home tonight. I'm going to try the bowl of ice in front of the fan before I go to sleep, and I'm going to try way before I go to sleep. I'm going to try the 2 fans back to back and see if that actually works. So yes, this article as well, they're recommending using fans a lot because this is a problem that's probably not going to get better anytime soon. It doesn't look like heat waves will cease, and it looks like climate change is not going to exactly turn around anytime soon. So we probably have to find a way to get away from just being dependent on air conditioning so much. They do mention in this article as well that heat pumps are looking to be a good solution because heat pumps are way more energy efficient in the wintertime. They work kind of like typical air conditioning units do, but a little bit differently. And they're good for winter and summer use, but it's not that easy for all of us to switch over what we use, right? Air conditioning was probably expensive enough the first time to put in, so switching over to a completely new technology is probably going to take people some time, right? Yes, so there's a lot to consider there. But cool, thanks for the advice. I'm definitely going to try it out. I am going to not sleep under the air conditioning tonight. I couldn't sleep last night. I was sitting there shivering. I woke up shivering. I don't like doing that. So I'm going to definitely switch to the fan tonight, see how it works with a bowl full of ice right in front of it. And I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm going to do 2 scientific tests today. I'm going to do my own research and see how that goes. So fans, that's the big recommendation. So thank you so much for sending your messages. And that's going to do it for me, myself, and I for today. We're going to take a quick song break. We're going to listen to Heat Waves by Glass Animals, and then we'll be back with the perfect playlist. Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Heat Waves by Glass Animals, and now it is time for our perfect playlist. We've got a perfect playlist for you every week, and this week we have a new theme. I like this one. This week, the best covers. Some of the best covers you'll hear. And cover songs can really reinvent a song in a way. Sometimes, a cover can be simple, just somebody singing a song as you've heard it before. But sometimes they can reinterpret what you've heard and take it into a whole nother direction. So sometimes we'll have to judge which one is better, the original or the cover, right? In this case, I'm really excited to hear the first song for today because I know the original and I've actually never heard this cover, though I'm pretty familiar with the band. Our first song today is Jolene by the White Stripes. The original song was written by Dolly Parton, and there have been many, many covers of this song over the years for sure, but not many of them have been singled out for praise by Dolly Parton herself. She actually had kind words about this and about Jack White in a 2016 interview. And this is one of the more rock cover versions of the song you'll hear. But of course, there are many other different takes on the song Jolene. You could hear songs, covers by Cake, Ray LaMontagne, Strawberry Switchblade, Olivia Newton-John, Me First and the Gimme Gimmes, which I imagine is a punk cover, many more, right? So this will be the White Stripes take on the song Jolene. Our second song I'm well familiar with, and this is going to be one to bang your head to. This is Come On Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot, which many people may not know is originally by Slade. And Slade were actually these glam rock gods in the native England, but they struggled to replicate their success across the Atlantic, so I think many people know this song not as a cover, actually. This song blew up in the mid-'80s because Quiet Riot had a very faithful cover version, and they spelled it the same way as well. And this took off in the American market and also helped usher in the trend of hair metal. So if you've never heard this one, you'll be sure to bang your head to this. So we've got two for you on the perfect playlist, two of the best covers you'll hear this week. Jolene by the White Stripes, followed by Come On Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot.
One, two, three.
Welcome back to the 2 p.m. Reboot. You just heard Come On Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot, and before that was Jolene by the White Stripes, and that was two very different covers of very different original songs. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to our perfect playlist this week. I'm probably going to hear a lot of things that I've not heard covered before or didn't even realize was a cover. I didn't know Slade... I don't know. Slade was not big in the U.S., so I didn't know the original Slade version of Come On Feel the Noise. Interesting. So I'll have to check that out. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's time to wrap up the show. I've been your host, Casey McKeever. Of course, we'll be back at 2:05 p.m. tomorrow, so definitely tune in. And of course, stay tuned for the four-year Busan. And we've got one last song for you. We're going to play Spice Up Your Life by Spice Girls. Have a great one, everybody.